Hey everyone, welcome back. I was thinking about something the other day, and it just really struck me. How much of what we do each day is driven by, just pure habit?
Oh,
It's things
absolutely.
we don't even think about.
Totally.
So today we're going to dive deep into that world with James Clear's Atomic Habits. Have you had a chance to check it out?
I have. It's such a good one.
Yeah, it is. It's packed with strategies. And I, for one, am ready to unlock some serious habit power today.
Me too. Let's do it.
And to give us an even broader perspective, we'll also be pulling in some insights from Drive by Daniel H. Pink because, motivation, that's kind of a big deal when it comes to habits, right?
Huge. I mean, that's the core of it, figuring out what really motivates us to make those lasting changes.
For sure. So let's just jump right in. Clear kicks off Atomic Habits with this story about the British cycling team. And I have to admit, it totally blew me away.
Oh yeah. What's the story there? I haven't heard that one.
Okay, so picture this, right? British cycling, they've got a decent team, but they haven't exactly been like Olympic gold medalists or anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
But then this guy, Dave Brailsford, comes in as their coach, and he's got this radical idea. He's like, we're going to improve everything, but just by 1%.
1%. Okay, that's interesting.
Right. Sounds kind of small, right?
Yeah.
But he's talking about redesigning the bike seats to make them more aerodynamic, testing different fabrics to find lighter racing suits, even figuring out the absolute best way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick.
Wow. So he's like really thinking about every single detail.
Oh, totally. He's all about those marginal gains.
Interesting.
And get this, within a few years, British cycling is breaking records left and right. They're winning Olympic medals. They're dominating the Tour de France. It's insane.
Wow. So it actually worked.
It totally did. It's like they unlocked this secret superpower or something.
That's amazing. So how did they do it? Was it really just all those tiny changes adding up?
That's exactly it. That's the power of compounding, or as Clear calls it, the compound interest of self-improvement. Those small, consistent efforts, they're like investing a little bit of money every single day.
Right. It might not seem like much in the beginning, but over time,
It snowballs, and then suddenly, boom, you've got this incredible return on your investment.
it's like magic, but for self-improvement.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Habits can work for us or against us.
Oh, that's so true.
I mean, think about it, right?
Yeah.
Good habits, they can totally propel us forward, but bad habits, they can really hold us back. It's kind of scary how much power they have over us.
No, you're right. It's like we're on autopilot sometimes and not even realizing it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why, really understanding how habits actually form, that's key, right?
Mhm.
Because then we can start to actually design our habits.
Exactly. Instead of letting them just happen to us.
Yes, we can take control of that autopilot.
I'm all for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the concepts that really helped me wrap my head around all of this was Clear's idea of the plateau of latent potential. Have you heard of this one?
Yeah. It's like you're putting in the work, but you don't see the results right away.
Exactly. And it can be so frustrating. You're like, hello, I'm doing all the things. Where are my results?
Right. It's so easy to get discouraged during that time.
It totally is. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden there's this breakthrough, seemingly out of nowhere.
And it's like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right. Like you're working on something for ages and then finally things click. But it's like all that effort you put in before that wasn't wasted.
It's like it was all building up to that moment.
Exactly.
I love how Clear explains it with the ice cube analogy. You can apply heat to an ice cube for a while, and it seems like nothing's happening.
Right. It just sits there.
Totally. But then you hit that crucial 32 degrees, and boom, suddenly it starts to melt.
That's such a good visual.
It is, and I think it's so helpful for understanding how change often happens.
So basically, even when we feel like we're stuck on that plateau,
The effort is still worth it.
it totally is because
Yeah.
behind the scenes, things are happening.
Exactly. Change is still happening, even if we can't see it yet.
Love it. So we've talked about how powerful habits can be, and that change often happens kind of like those aha moments, after we've been working at something for a while, but it seems like nothing's happening.
Right, like that plateau we were talking about.
Exactly. But how do we actually make it happen? How do we build those better habits in the first place? We have these neural pathways forming, but how do we make sure they're going in the right direction?
That's where the rubber meets the road, right? It's not enough to just set goals like, I want to eat healthier or I want to be more productive.
Goals are good, though,
Mhm.
right? I mean, they give us something to aim for.
Oh, absolutely. Goals are important. They give us that vision, that destination, but they don't tell us how to get there. That's where systems come in.
Okay, so it's not enough to want to change. We need a plan, a system.
Exactly. Think of systems as the step-by-step roadmap to reaching those goals. Clear has this great quote. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems."
Oh, I like that. So it's about those daily habits, those little things we do consistently.
Yes, it's about the process, the small, repeatable actions that, over time, lead to those big transformations we're looking for.
It's not about being superhuman. It's about having the right systems in place.
Exactly. And Clear takes it a step further. He talks about identity-based habits. It's not just about what you do, but about who you believe you are.
Okay, so instead of saying, I want to write a book, you start saying, I am a writer.
Exactly. You embody that identity, and the habits that support it become much more natural. If you see yourself as a writer, of course you're going to make time for writing.
That makes so much sense. It's like you're aligning your actions with your beliefs.
Exactly. And to help us build those identity-based habits, Clear gives us this fantastic framework he calls the 4 laws of behavior change.
I love a good framework. Break it down for me.
Okay, so the first law is make it obvious. Before we can change a habit, we have to be aware of it, right?
It's like shine a light on those unconscious patterns.
Exactly. Clear suggests creating a habits scorecard. It's basically just a list of all your current habits, the good, the bad, and the, well,
Ones we'd rather not admit to.
Exactly. But hey, we all have them. The point is to bring them into our awareness.
So once we've identified those habits, then what? How do we actually change them?
Well, there's this powerful tool called implementation intentions. It's about getting really specific with our habits. So instead of saying, I'll meditate more, you say, I will meditate for 10 minutes right after I pour my morning coffee in my living room.
I love that. You're not giving yourself a chance to talk yourself out of it.
Exactly. You've already decided when and where you'll do it, so it's much harder to make excuses.
It's like you're removing the decision fatigue from the equation.
Exactly. And another great strategy is habit stacking.
Oh, tell me more about that one.
So let's say you want to start a gratitude practice, but you're struggling to find the time. With habit stacking, you piggyback the new habit onto an existing one. So you might say, after I brush my teeth, I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for.
You're using the momentum of an existing habit to make it easier to adopt a new one.
Precisely. And of course, we can't forget about the power of our environment.
Right, like if you want to eat healthier, don't keep a bowl of candy on the counter.
Exactly. Make the cues for your good habits obvious and attractive, and make those bad habits less visible and appealing.
Make it easy on yourself. So that's make it obvious. What's the second law?
The second law is make it attractive. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, so we need to make our desired habits something we actually want to do.
I'm all for that. How do we make those habits more enticing?
Well, one way is through temptation bundling.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Tell me more.
It's pretty simple, really. You link something you need to do with something you want to do. So, for example, let's say you love listening to podcasts, but you struggle to find time for cleaning.
Oh, the struggle is real. Tell me you have a solution for this.
You got it. Tell yourself you can only listen to your favorite podcast while you're cleaning. You're bundling something you enjoy with something you've been avoiding.
Suddenly, cleaning doesn't seem so bad.
Exactly. It's all about reframing those tasks we tend to avoid.
I love it. Temptation bundling. I'm adding that to my to-do list right now.
And another way to make habits more attractive is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the norm.
Right. Surround yourself with people who value the same things you do.
Exactly. It's much easier to stick with a habit when you're part of a supportive community.
Okay, so we've made it obvious. We've made it attractive. What about those habits that just feel hard?
That's where the third law comes in. Make it easy. We want to reduce friction, make it as simple as possible to do the right thing.
This is where I think a lot of people get tripped up. They try to do too much at once.
I agree. It's easy to get overwhelmed. That's why the 2-minute rule is so helpful. The idea is to break down any habit into a 2-minute version.
Oh yeah, the 2-minute rule. So instead of trying to go for an hour-long run, you just focus on putting on your running shoes.
Exactly. Often getting started is the hardest part. Once you've taken that first step, it's much easier to keep going.
It's like you're tricking your brain into taking action.
In a way, yes. You're lowering the barrier to entry.
Love it. Okay, 3 laws down, 1 to go. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
The fourth law is make it satisfying. We are more likely to repeat behaviors that bring us pleasure or a sense of accomplishment.
So how do we make our habits more satisfying, especially in those early stages when we might not see the results we're looking for right away?
That's a great question. One way is to reward yourself in a way that aligns with your identity. So if you're trying to save money, Instead of rewarding yourself with a shopping spree, maybe you put that money towards a trip you've been wanting to take.
I love that. It's like you're reinforcing your desired identity with your rewards.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of habit tracking. There's something incredibly satisfying about checking off a box or seeing your progress visually.
It's like those streaks on language learning apps. I'm always so motivated to keep those streaks alive.
It's a great feeling, right? It gives you a sense of accomplishment and helps you stay motivated. And this is where we can tie back to Daniel Pink's drive.
Oh, yeah. Pink talks about those three key elements of intrinsic motivation:
Hmm.
autonomy, mastery, and purpose, right?
Exactly. We're more motivated when we feel in control of our choices. Autonomy, when we're learning and growing, mastery, and when our actions contribute to something larger than ourselves, purpose.
And those principles are so relevant to Clear's four laws of behavior change.
Absolutely. When we design our habits in a way that supports our need for autonomy, mastery, and purpose, we're much more likely to stick with them long term.
You know, it's funny how one tiny change can snowball into something huge, right? I think about this story from Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit
Mhm.
about Tony Dungy. He was this amazing football coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Dungy was fascinating. He was known for his calm demeanor, especially in the high-pressure world of professional football.
Totally. He wasn't about yelling or giving those fiery pep talks. Instead of focusing on winning, he focused on their habits.
He changed the entire team culture by introducing what he called the Buccaneer defense, which was all about simplifying their responses on the field.
So instead of overthinking during the game, their reactions became almost automatic, like second nature.
Exactly. And the results were incredible. The Buccaneers went from being known as a losing team to becoming one of the best defensive teams in the league. They even won the Super Bowl in 2003.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. They completely transformed their performance by focusing on those small, consistent actions, those foundational habits.
It speaks volumes about the power of getting the process right. And it ties into another concept Clear talks about in Atomic Habits: small wins. Those seemingly insignificant victories we achieve along the way can have a huge impact on our motivation and long-term success.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like even just checking something off my to-do list gives me a little burst of energy to keep going.
absolutely. Each small win is like a deposit in your confidence bank. They help build momentum and reinforce that sense of progress, which is crucial for sticking with any change long term. Remember, we're going for those tiny changes that compound over time.
And we can't forget about those keystone habits, right? The ones that create a ripple effect, influencing other areas of our lives.
Absolutely. Identifying your keystone habits can be a game changer because it allows you to focus your energy on the areas that will have the biggest impact.
So what does all of this mean for you, dear listener? We've unpacked a ton of information about habits, but how do we apply it to create real, lasting change?
It all boils down to this. You're not just forming better habits, you're designing a better life. You're taking control of those unconscious patterns and shaping them to align with the person you want to become.
It's so empowering when you think about it that way. Like Clear says, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
It's about recognizing the incredible power you have to shape your reality one small habit at a time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to think about one small habit you can change this week. Maybe it's drinking an extra glass of water each day, or taking 5 minutes each morning to write down what you're grateful for, or maybe it's finally committing to that online course you've been eyeing. Whatever it is, start small, focus on the system, and trust that those small changes, compounded over time, can lead to remarkable results.